Hello, everyone, and I'd like to welcome you to another episode of the Enterprise Technology Podcast. I am your host, John Perez, and today we're going to talk about how to outmaneuver the uncertainty in your business during COVID-19. I'm going to give you a sneak preview into the top 3 things you need to invest in at your company. Today, we're moving at an unprecedented speed. Companies are being asked to restart their engines, quickly bring customers and national economies back online. The challenge is complicated by uncertainties about the progression of COVID-19 and the social, political, climate, and fiscal actions that it will drive. Leaders need detailed plans of how to return their businesses to at least partial, if not full operation. Reopening requires more than just a return to normal. It requires how we address the unpredictable and long-lasting period that follows this pandemic with social injustice, potential outbreaks of COVID, and much, much more. In this episode, we want to guide you through your business on how to reopen with a focus on people and technology. Okay? There are plenty of things you can do, but today we're going to just focus on 3 things that involve your people and technology. So, let's talk about this. Your company is probably going to be required to take these steps to keep up with the new normal. So in this episode, I'm going to talk to you about 3 key steps your business absolutely needs to take to keep up with the new normal. Before I get into these 3 key steps, I do want to give credit to Accenture for actually inspiring this podcast with their white paper called 5 Priorities to Help Reopen and Reinvent Your Business. Primarily, that white paper is focused on brick and mortars. And what I did is synthesize that white paper into 3 key steps that I think digital businesses and enterprises really need to take. So let's go on to key step number 1 for your business. That is, put people first. Companies will need to ensure that they provide not only a safe and secure work environment, but they need to communicate with their workforces transparently to build trust. This not only involves their safety and health, but managers and CEOs are going to have to create inclusive cultures that are diverse. Those who do not will not have a company in the next 10 years. Let's take a look at what's happening. A health crisis forced millions to lose their jobs. Constant views of police brutality on social networks worldwide has created an outrage and daily protests that are going on 4 weeks. This is a pivotal moment in history. All 50 states and all over the country, 18 countries have participated in the Black Lives Matter movement, making it the largest civil rights movement in history. While many companies came out to support the movement, there were also a slew of few CEOs that were ousted for negatively commenting about the movement. Your company's future, its employees will not tolerate a non-diverse and non-inclusive culture. So companies are not only looking to maintain margins, but they are looking to also ensure that they attract the very best and brightest to their organization. Only at these companies that embrace diversity and inclusion do I think that they will survive. All 50 states and over 18 countries participated in the Black Lives Matter movement, making it the largest civil rights movement in history. While many companies came out to support the movement, there were also a few of those companies where they've ousted some CEOs because of negatively commenting about the movement. Your company's future employees will not tolerate a non-diverse and non-inclusive culture. So companies that are not only looking to maintain margins, they have to really maintain their employee relationships and put people first. If they're looking to attract the very best and the brightest to their organization, you're going to have to come with an inclusive and diverse culture. Otherwise, your company's not going to survive. So that's key step number 1. Start with people first, not only their safety, but think about the inclusiveness, diversity, and culture in the organization or in your organization. Key step number 2 is you got to be willing to change course and direction immediately. So given the range of potential scenarios for the evolution of this crisis, companies will need to be prepared to change course at the drop of a dime. Here are the scenarios you need to account for. Let's talk about them. There's about 4 scenarios. Scenario number 1 is rapid remission of the virus. This risk involves too fast of a restart that often leads to a catastrophic success. When this happens, everybody's safety is at risk. So if we were to go back into COVID-19 reopening immediately, we then compromise our employees' health and we compromise our customers' health as well. The next scenario is a flattened curve. When your business is slow to return, your customers have time to consider competitors and alternatives. Changes in market share start to happen. And that's kind of what's happening now. If you're in New York and you own a business, the curve is starting to flatten and we're doing pretty good. But at the end of the day, this may be an opportunity for your customers to think about other alternatives in terms of products or services. So you will see a shift in market share as the curve flattens. The third scenario is cyclical outbreaks, and this potentially can happen, right? We're starting to see that in China. We're starting to see that in other countries and states that started to reopen. In this scenario, it's the most dynamic and it provides businesses the chaotic environment to manage, as it's hard to retain employees, keep morale high, and planning inventory levels are just hard to maintain. So when you're forced to kind of open up, then shut back down due to health problems, this can be a pretty chaotic situation. And the final scenario is prolonged chaos. So if this continues, whether it's cyclical or it just continues to be a new normal where we are just completely shut down and closed down, that's going to create a lack of revenue and a high cost to a business. And it really distracts a business from long-term investments that they need to make in order for them to keep their company afloat and up above ground for the next 10 years. Mental health on workers holds back employee engagement, and this creates all sorts of morale issues with retaining employees at your company. So those are the four scenarios. Now let's recap this and talk about the impact and what you need to do. So 9/11 introduced business continuity and disaster recovery plans to many companies. We saw that when the towers went down, and many companies, took days, weeks, if not months, to recover from that. COVID is going to force businesses to immediately enable their workforce to work from anywhere or from home while still generating revenue. Relying on digital experiences to drive revenue when their brick and mortar operations are not available are going to be key. So companies that actually have a brick and mortar presence but also have an online presence will have a chance. If you don't have an online presence, you won't have a chance. Companies that can toggle between these scenarios will absolutely be the most successful. So let's talk about key step number 3. And you hear me talking about this all the time on the Enterprise Technology podcast. And it's no surprise that businesses need to commit an investment in technology. So if you have been one of those businesses that have ignored investments in common technology that you need to run a business and maintain inventory levels, you are now at the point where you're going to be forced to actually adopt technology. So learn to stop adopting the common technologies you need to have to support your business. And let's talk about those common technologies. One is a CRM system. If you want to stay in touch with your customers, whether it's in-store or remotely, or your prospects, you're going to have to stay in touch with them using a CRM platform to organize your customers, your prospects, and even your inventory levels. So take that into consideration. A CRM system is going to be critical to marketing, servicing, as well as increasing your sales in your organization. Let's talk about the next most important system. If you're in an enterprise company, an ERP system is going to be critical to maintain your invoicing, your billing, your product inventory levels, your supply chain. If you're in a small business, it's going to be all about your accounting system. You may be using NetSuite, you may be using QuickBooks or Xero. Maintaining inventory levels and understanding your financial system situation is more critical than ever. It's not an option to, put this in a notebook anymore. You're going to have to understand your financial situation. If you want to get any of the PPP loans that are out there given by the government, or any of the loans that came from the stimulus package, you're going to have to show and prove revenue records and revenue loss. You can do that through an ERP or an accounting system, so make the investment in that. Finally, the last two involve workplace collaboration. So workplace collaboration tools we're all familiar with, that being Zoom, Skype, Microsoft Teams, Facebook for Workplace. Invest in the digital tools for your employees to stay engaged and to stay on track with communicating with one another. It's going to be critical at a time like this as businesses go back to reopening and then maybe forced to kind of go back to a remote workplace culture. So invest in those workplace collaboration tools. It's well worth it. And finally, a marketing automation platform. And while some CRM systems have marketing automation features, and while some business owners do invest in email marketing platforms, marketing automation platforms really automate the marketing for your business. Gone are the days of just sending an email blast every week to promote a product or service in your company. What you want is to have that automated. You want that to happen automatically over the course of several weeks, months, or years. You want it to be conditional, so based on website behavior, based on product behavior or customer behavior, your marketing automation platform can get in front of your customer or prospect, send a text message automatically, send emails automatically to get them to your store to make a purchase online or in your store. So invest in marketing automation platforms. Listen to our other episodes of the Enterprise Technology Podcast if you want to understand what a marketing automation platform does. So these are the top 3 things to invest in. They're going to help you navigate through this uncertainty in your business. And just to recap them, they are: put people first. That's step number 1. Step number 2 is change course and direction immediately. And finally, commit to an investment in technology. Thank you once again for listening. I am your host, John Perez. And until next week, thank you for tuning in.